Hi, beauties. I know it's been a while, but we're back with another podcast episode. I kind of fell off the face of the earth after my first podcast episode. I recorded a couple more, I just never got around to posting them. But today that's going to change. I'm going to be pre-recording several episodes so that I'll be able to get them out for you. Because right now, I've got some spare time. So welcome to the Obsession with Kay, the podcast where we talk openly about mental health, healing, and the journey from barely surviving to truly thriving, and much more. I'm your host, Kay, and today is one that hits close to home for many people, and maybe even for you. Trigger warning, this is a pretty heavy topic. Today we're going to be talking about suicide and self-harm, so if you're not in the mood for a little bit of a heavy topic, go ahead and click off now. Before we dive in, if you or someone you know is struggling with thoughts of suicide, please reach out. In the US, you can dial 988 to talk to someone right now. You are not alone. Again, that number is 988. Let's begin. First thing I want to go over is statistics. So in 2023, that was just 2 years ago, 49,000 people died from suicide, which is a death every 11 minutes. 12.8 million contemplated suicide seriously. 3.7 million made a plan. 1.5 million attempted. In 2023, I was part of that 1.5 million. Let's talk about my story. I've struggled with suicidal thoughts since I was around 10 years old. Once my grandfather died, I wanted to die too just so I could see him again. As I grew up, these thoughts only intensified. At 11, I attempted for the first time. I was committed to a psychiatric hospital and diagnosed with DMDD, which is disruptive pain dysregulation disorder. It's essentially a childhood bipolar disorder. My first hospital stay was very traumatic. I was put on a ton of meds to level up my mood. A year later to the day, I was committed again. And then I was out for a year and a half. We thought I was doing better. But March 2023, I hit my lowest. I was burnt out and felt like I had no fight left in me. So, I attempted. I was committed to a different hospital closer to home in hopes that I would do better there. And I did. I did do better there. I actually wanted help this time, unlike my other stays where I refused treatment. The suicidal thoughts didn't stop. They just became hushed enough to ignore. But I was still self-harming. Only 3 months ago did I break free from self-harm. I recently switched my antidepressant as well, and I feel so much more like myself now. Now let's acknowledge something that often gets swept under the rug. Suicidal thoughts do not come from weakness. They often come from prolonged strength, fighting battles no one else can see. For many people, suicidal ideation stems from hopelessness. It's not always about wanting to die. It's about wanting the pain to stop. It's the moment when the mind can imagine a future where things get better, when your inner voice whispers it's never going to change or everyone would be better off without me. Here's the hard truth. Those thoughts lie. They feel true, they sound convincing, but they are not the whole story. The shift from suicidal to thriving doesn't begin with sunshine and rainbows. It often begins with a whisper of curiosity. What if I could get better? What if I'm wrong? That's the first mindset shift. Questioning the lie that things will never improve. There's often a pivotal moment, sometimes dramatic, but often more quiet, that sparks change. It might be a conversation with someone who really listens, a late night walk, a single line from a book, a therapist's voice, a memory of a future you once dreamed about. These moments create cracks in the wall of despair, and the cracks let light in. That moment doesn't solve everything, but it opens a door, or maybe even just a window. The next mindset shift is I don't have to do this alone. Isolation fuels hopelessness, and it's really hard to not isolate yourself when you're feeling depressed. But healing begins in connection. That connection can be with a friend, a therapist, a support group, or even a pet. Just something or someone that reminds me you're still human, you're still loved, and you're still capable of change. Now let's reframe pain as purpose. Let's fast forward. You're out of crisis, but still raw, still fragile, maybe functioning, but not thriving yet. This is the stage where mindset shifts become your survival tools. A big one is reframing pain. Instead of viewing your past suffering as a burden, you start to see it as a blueprint. It doesn't define you, but it informs your growth. You begin asking different questions. What did I learn from surviving that pain? How can I use that understanding to help others? What strengths did I uncover in my darkest moments? This isn't about glamorizing suffering. It's about owning your story, taking your pain and turning it into a purpose. That mindset is what fuels the move from just existing to actually thriving. Here's where we get real practical. Thriving isn't a permanent state. It's a daily practice. It involves rebuilding your identity, often from the ground up. And that starts with one of the most powerful shifts. I am not broken. I am becoming. People who have been suicidal often carry shame, like they failed at life or they're damaged. I am one of those people. But surviving that pain means you lived a different kind of strength, one the world doesn't always recognize, but it's still there. So you start making small, intentional choices, setting boundaries, prioritizing sleep, saying no more often but saying yes to therapy, finding new passions or rediscovering old ones, speaking kinder to yourself, maybe for the first time. Over time, your internal narrative changes from I can't go on to I'm learning to live again. And eventually, I want to be here. Let's be clear, thriving isn't about perfection. It's not about achieving some polished, Instagram-ready version of your life. For some, thriving means getting out of bed without dread. For others, it's launching a business, creating art, or helping others through advocacy. What matters is this: you define what thriving means for you. It could be peace, purpose, creativity, connection, or all of the above, and you get to keep evolving that definition as you go on. The shift from suicidal to thriving isn't a straight line. It's messy, and it takes time. And yes, it's possible. It begins with questioning the lies, reaching for connection, and slowly, bravely rewriting your story. If you're in that dark place right now, I want to say something directly to you. You are not weak for struggling. You are not alone. You are not broken, and you are not beyond healing. I believed for the longest time that I was too far gone. There is more for you. More joy, more peace, more love, and yes, more life. That's it for today's episode. I know it was a little short one. It was a mini episode. Thank you for listening to the App Session with Kay. If this episode spoke to you, please share it with someone who might need it. And don't forget to subscribe for more honest conversations about mental health, healing, and hope. Take care of yourself. Remember, light always finds a way in.